Hey guys, we are doing sinusoidal functions unit, and in the previous video we learned how to make a graph of transformed sine function. This video is going to cover up the graphs of transformed cosine functions. We have already covered up the steps to follow in order to make a graph of a transformed function. If you guys are unsure about how to make a graph of a transformed function, I would recommend you watching my previous video where the steps are explained for making a graph of a transformed sine function. We're going to follow the same steps. The only difference is that the parent function is different now. And this would only change our fourth step. Here we are going to go over the steps, but I'm not going to write on all the steps. It's just that we will be using the steps. Let's go over the first step first. Step 1 was plotting equation of axes, and your equation of axes is y equal to -3. So if this is our 0 point, this is -1, -2, -3. We would first make our equation of axes going through y equal to -3. We used our first step. Second step was to use a and c in order to find out the max and the min value. So we would do c plus a. C value is -3. A is 4. We get a +1. And then we do c minus a, which is -3 minus 4, which is a -7. This gives you the max, and this gives you the, so this is -4 and so on. We will plot the min value and the max value on this. So the min is -7, max is a +1. Step number 3 is to find time period, and time period we know is 360 by k. K is 3, which is 120 degrees. Then we divide the time period by 4. And it gives us 30. The multiples of 30 are 30, 60, 90, and 120. We'll plot these multiples on the equation of axes. So this is 0 degrees, this is 30 degrees, this is 60 degrees, this is 90 degrees, and this is 120. Now our step number 4 was looking at the parent function, and our parent function is cos function. Now let's look at the step in detail, because this is something different from the previous video where we discussed the sine function graph. Let's recall how the parent function cosine graph looked like. And the graph of the parent function looks like this. Here also we would mark 5 points. Point number 1, point number 2, point number 3, point number 4, and point number 5. This is when your a is positive. So when a is positive, in cosine function we would have the first point as max point, second point is the midpoint, third point is the min point, fourth point as the midpoint again, and fifth point as the max point. Similarly, if we have a cosine function where a is negative, because negative a means graph reflects over x-axis, so this is how the graph is going to look like. So the first point, second point, third point, fourth point, and fifth point looks like this. First point is the min point, second point is the midpoint, third point is the max point, fourth is mid again, and fifth is min point. Because in our question a is no sign means a is positive, so we would follow a positive cos points, and a positive cos points are max, mid, min, mid, max. Let's use these points to make the graph. First is max, mid, min, mid, max, and we will be using this to make our graph. All we have to do is just join these dots. This is how your cosine graph would look like. Did you notice we did not use phase shift yet? So this is our, did you notice we did not use our phase shift? So this is our step number 5. We always use the phase shift at the end. The fifth step says that d value is a -30. Why is this negative? Is because if this is your general parent transformed function, your d and x should have a negative sign in between. If we have a positive sign, that means it should be x minus -d. This is what gives you an x positive d. So that means the d is not positive, d is negative. So this is how we figured out that d is -30. -30 means your phase shift is 30 degrees left. 30 degrees left means we're going to move everything left 30 degrees. So the first point, instead of being at a 0 degree, would be at -30. So let's say if this side is positive 30, this side will be a -30. So my first point will be here. This point will shift left this point will shift 30 degrees left, this point as well, and this point as well. And now when I join these points, this blue graph is my final graph of this function.